His solid performance from the Scottish champions. Young Dame Murray excelled, Inamura looked the part, but Benjamin Negren was easily the standout. This one as well from Jimmy says, everyone knows Brendan won't sign an extension to his contract. He took the job as a personal favour to Dermot Desmond and Postecoglou, bailed out. I can't blame him. The Celtic board led by Peter Law was even more unpopular than the Kelly and White gang, and that's saying something. I think
that's a stretch.
That's a bit of a stretch.
This is the people that are running the club right now are the same people that gave you 13 league titles at the last 14.
The last 14
I don't think it's really comparable to the Kellys and Whites.
I'd probably agree with that. Plenty of others want. Davey saying McCown looked impressive, but Davey also says, as a Celtic fan, I'm getting a whiff of there's something not right about Brendan's body language.
I'm not going to lie to you.
You agree with that? Eh?
I'm starting to wonder if there is a problem, and I keep saying it, and we keep saying it every night now. This situation will either be resolved to the satisfaction of Brendan Rodgers before the end of the transfer window, or it won't. And I think that is then going to shape what the relationship is between Peter and Celtic going for between Brendan and Celtic going forward. Do you know what worries me? I wrote a thing today. Gordon Strachan, some quotes come out. He'd done an interview with a sports betting site or something. And the way things work these days, they get emailed over, and if you want to use them, you can use them and just say you're speaking in an interview with the company. Now, help me out with the name of the company.
I can't remember.
Betting Guide.
Aye, something like that. Betting Guide 365 or something.
BGLO, something like that.
Aye.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, the point being, Gordon Strachan remains really close to the movers and shakers at Celtic. He remains a confidant of Dermot Desmond. He's close to Peter Law. And I don't know if you've seen it, but some of the things that Gordon Strachan said actually made me do a double take. I thought, that's quite strong from Gordon.
I agree, it was interesting comments.
Because he was basically saying, look, do you know what? Celtic shouldn't be throwing the kitchen sink at keeping Brendan on an extended contract. I think the phrase that he used was a contract for life. And he then went on to go further than that, kind of doubling down by saying, after you've done 3 years at Celtic, most managers are ready for a change. It's not that you don't love the club's fantastic, but it takes an emotional, physical, mental drain. And after 3 years of it in that high intensity sort of chamber, it's Gordon's belief, and this is what he said in his piece, that it's very often, more often than not, it's time to move on. Time to do something else, to refresh, for a change of scenery, maybe escape the level of intensity and glare and focus that you're under. And I just thought, given that Brendan Rodgers has recently met with Dermot Desmond for discussions, and the two of them were happy to walk away from those discussions without a new contract being agreed, I just thought the timing is really interesting, put it that way. For Gordon to say that and almost float the idea that Brendan Rodgers might not be around beyond the end of this next season, I found it really interesting, fascinating, and I wonder if maybe I might be reading too much into it.
No, I completely agree with you. When I read it, and if anyone wants to read the comments...
Bear in mind, Gordon Strachan's own son is in
exactly,
his own Brendan's backroom team.
Exactly. So. It's on Record Sport Online now if you want to read the comments. But I was taken aback by how open he was. That he was even saying, you're playing these teams every week. It becomes a bit much.
It's plastic pitches and it's hard to get motivated. Look, I'll tell you what, I had a very similar conversation when Neil Lennon was still Celtic manager. I think first time around, and no one is more passionate about Celtic than Neil Lennon. But we were having a chat one night, and he said that it does get to a point where, and I won't mention any specific clubs, but something away from home on a Tuesday night, and it's raining, and it's December, and it's hard just to keep resetting and remotivating and digging deep to find the drive that made you the same guy that you were 1 year ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So maybe Gordon Strachan's just speaking truthfully and honestly, and his appraisal would be not dissimilar to a guy like Neil Lennon, who has walked in the same shoes, and obviously Brendan Rodgers is in those shoes just now. I find it interesting. We've said since the end of last season, if Brendan Rodgers gets to the end of next season and Celtic have collected 5 successive titles at that point, then I think that Brendan Rodgers wouldn't be human if he didn't start to look beyond where he was at the present and realise what the future could hold. The once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to lead Celtic to 10 in a row, which he walked away from, everybody would have assumed this is once in a lifetime. And he damaged a lot of relationships by making the decision to leave when he did. I think ultimately he lived to regret that decision, which is why he's back this time around. So given all that history and context, if Brendan Rodgers was to get to the end of next season with another title, 10 in a row isn't some far-off, distant fantasy at this point. It's on the horizon. It's far away, but it's on the horizon nevertheless.
No.
Would he walk away from that for a second time? I think he'd only walk away from it if he felt that he was no longer the real driving force, if he felt that his influence was on the wane and that he wasn't sort of driving the club in the manner in which he thinks it needs to be driven to make it as successful as it possibly can be. And that's where these next few weeks are going to be fascinating, because I keep saying it, Brendan Rodgers gets the financial backing from the board to go and sign 3 or 4 players that he believes makes his first 11 better. Now, they might have to come at a premium cost, the same way they did last summer with Engels and Adam Ida and Trusty. And that's going to be an expensive layout if that's the case. And Celtic have already spent a few quid on purchases that look like board investments. And I think Brendan Rodgers has already described, I think, Inamura as a board investment.
Inamura and Yamada, who we'll come to.
So yeah, if he's not getting his way between now and the end of the transfer window, then I think you hunker down. And I think he'll hunker down and he'll say he's made his commitment, and his commitment was 3 years. And come what may, he'll say about that time, he won't leave before that contract's over. That is 100%. But if he gets to the end of the 3 years, even if a 5th successive title is in the bag, if he feels that he's facing another battle with the board just to try and drive things forward and move things forward, and they don't share the ambition that he has for the team, then I think Gordon Strachan might be proven absolutely correct, and that this might be Brendan Rodgers' last lap.
Yeah. If you want to get involved, please do so. The comments are coming in thick and fast. Charlie Mack says, Rodgers away, Maloney in his intern. Mo says the same. There are some folk thinking Brendan wants to take 10 in a row. Start again. There's some folk saying that Brendan Rodgers wants to stay for 10 in a row. It's the same folk that will stamp their feet if trebles are not delivered. Hoopsaholic says they're not doing a great job in convincing him to stay unless there's a lot of moves being made in the market none of us are aware about.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're just going to have to, everybody, Celtic fans, reporters, we're digging about, we're trying to find out, we'd love to. But the bottom line is, all of us are in the same boat in terms of we can only make an assessment and a judgment on what this means to Rodgers' position at Celtic once the window's closed and we're able to reflect on it and look at how the squad has changed, and maybe see that the manager's fingerprints are on that sign and that sign and that sign, and